Hi everybody, this is Carmen with Main Street Yoga. And there's Finnegan the dog who may be walking through a little bit. It's snow day, so we're expected to get a bunch of snow. When we go periods of time here in Illinois without snow, it's usually kind of takes a little bit for everybody to get their sea legs back. So oftentimes it's wiser to just kind of stay off the roads. My dad was a road commissioner, and so I used to see firsthand a lot of the stuff that happened, and we always like to take extra precautions. But because that means you don't get your practice, we thought it might be a good opportunity to have a video out there for those who might also be stuck at home, or just maybe for the best interest not drive. And provide you a yoga class. So this class is going to be more to the gentle moderate. It's going to be 45 minutes. The only props you're going to need, I try to keep it really minimal because you probably don't have a lot of things at home. So I have a blanket to sit on and to cushion my knees. And then I grabbed one block. Some individuals may have a block. If you don't have a block, a thick book could work. I'm trying to think anything else that might substitute really well, but really like a thick book would be really appropriate. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My dog might walk through from periodically, so such as life trying to do this in your house, right? All right, so that I have a sense of time. Let's go ahead and start by coming into a comfortable seated position, and just whatever that means for you and your body. Giving yourself this space just to check in. And by checking in, we're wanting to observe the physical sensation of being present in our practice. The way the body feels, the way the clothes hug the body, all the odds and ends, maybe even just checking into the subtle distractions that are around us. Now is a good time to shift in your seat if you need to. And maybe you bring your eyes to close or bring a soft gaze to the ground in front of you, and go ahead and dial your focus in to the breath. Not changing anything at this time, but allowing the breath to move in and out of you. And then notice how the mind pulls, how distraction, tasks, lingering activities, whether they be from the future or the past, can pop to mind, sometimes even for no reason. Can you begin to deepen the breath? Allowing the inhale to pull a little more air in each time. Allowing the exhalation to lengthen. Transitioning yourself to Dirga Pranayama. Inhaling into the abdomen, lifting the breath up. And when you're ready to exhale, exhale from the heart. Exhale from the mid-belly, exhale from the low belly, letting go. Inhale when you're ready, pull the breath in and up. Exhale when you're ready, release the breath down. Soft eyes, soft jaw. Inviting yourself to be more aware of each subtle sensation of breath, as though your vision starts to lose its width and starts to narrow to the inside of you. How do you hold yourself in this place? What type of focus or internal drishti keeps your attention? As you allow the breath to fill all the way down into the belly, lifting it up. And when you're ready to exhale, exhale from the top of the torso all the way down to the bottom. Staying at pace with yourself. A gentleness. At any point in time, you might choose to start the sound of Ujjayi, the ocean sound. Easiest to start on an exhale, pulling the breath in. As though you're fogging both the front and the back of your throat. Can you keep the sound moving through you? Can you keep yourself connected to where the sound travels inside? Allowing your internal gaze to move more deeply through the body. With your next exhalation, allow the breath to soften and just notice how your natural breath now feels. In this short time, has there already been a shift in the prana, the energy inside? Do you feel different? With your next exhalation, take your hands to your knees, and you might choose to allow your eyes to open. You might choose to keep your eyes closed, but allow the ribs to start to travel over the pelvis. Dialing into whatever sensation feels appropriate. Feels real or connected. Maybe even noticing sensation that is new. And then when you come to a place where you can switch directions, go ahead and go the other way. Observe how that feels. Is there a difference? With your next inhalation, go ahead and pull your ribs back through center. Bring your hands down by your sides, and with your next exhalation, go ahead and walk your right hand out to the right side. Bring your left arm up and overhead. Head balances between the shoulders, and when you're ready to inhale, inhale, come back up through center. And when you're ready to exhale, exhale, take the arm and go the other direction. Inhaling when you're ready. Exhale as you reach through lateral flexion. Both sits bones, those two bony bones on your bottom, always staying connected to the earth, not tipping over one side or the other. And then with your next inhalation, go ahead and inhale, come back up through center. And from here, begin to extend your legs out in front of you. Keeping your legs coming into staff position, press out through the heels of the feet. And then just go ahead and thunk out the legs a little bit, bringing some energy in. Maybe shake them side to side. Maybe even paddling the feet. With your next inhalation, press down into your sits bones, hands by your sides. Come back into staff pose, Dandasana. And then take your hands behind your right knee and hug it into the chest. Ground through the heel of the left foot. Pull up through the heart. Find length here. You're going to take your left hand, you're going to grip around the front of the calf. You're going to take your left hand and with an inhalation, lengthen. And with your exhalation, you're going to twist to the right side. The right hand is going to come down behind you. The gaze is going to draw over the right shoulder. Use your left hand to hug the right knee in towards the left shoulder. Breathe deeply. Breath will feel constricted. How can you keep it at pace with what you're doing? After a few breaths, is there more availability in your rotation? Can you draw your shoulders a little farther to the right? With your next inhalation, inhale, rotate yourself back to center. Take your right leg, bring it long, come back into staff pose. Couple breaths here. With your next exhalation, take your hands behind your left knee. Hug your left knee into the chest. Hug it into place. Continue to press out through the heel of your right foot. With your next exhalation, take your right hand around the left calf. Inhale, sweep the left fingers up. Let your heart lift with the fingertips and exhale to the left. Left hand comes back and behind you. Let the rotation happen from the ribs. You could even take your left hand and kind of wipe and smooth out the clothing and the tissue between the thigh and the abdomen. Gaze is going to go in the direction of your left shoulder. Breathe. With your next inhale, come back up through center. Go ahead and take the left knee out to the side. You're going to let the right foot come up and meet the left. You can adjust your sits bones. I am sitting on the edge of a blanket, so if you need to adjust it, you can do so as well. Bottoms of the feet are going to come together, Baddha Konasana, bound angle, but we're going to start by fluttering the knees in butterfly. Notice how the breath can seem out of sync with the fluttering of the knees. How can you keep the breath even as the movement is rapid? With your next exhalation, go ahead and press the knees down, grab the feet, ankles, or calves, and press up through the heart. Shoulder blades are going to come down back and behind you, the knees pressing down, the sits bones grounded. The arms are the bands of the bind. Baddha Konasana, bound angle. With your next exhalation, go ahead and take your hands, fold forward. Bring the hands to the ground in any way that works for you. Let the head come down, the chin come down, melt over your legs. Breathe deeply into the back body. With your next inhalation, go ahead and start to walk your hands back up towards you. You can either push your knees together with your hands or draw them up on their own. You're going to step your feet a little wider and windshield wipe your knees from side to side. The next time that your knees come over to one side, let your feet come together. You're going to begin to transition yourself into table position. If you work with knee sensitivity, this is a good time to implement a blanket. This blanket's pretty thick, so I'm going to throw it down the middle of my mat and smooth it out. If I need more support, I can fold the top of the blanket down a little bit more, creating extra cushion. But for now, this should be okay. You're going to come into table position. Your hands are going to come slightly wider than your shoulders, fingers spread wide. The knees are going to be just below the hips. Your navel and your spine hugging in towards each other, gaze down at the ground. If you are more comfortable curling your toes under, that is available as well. With your next inhalation, tip your tailbone up, lower belly down, heart and gaze forward. With your exhalation, scoop your tailbone under, pull chin and pubic bone towards each other, coming into cat. Inhale when you're ready, tip the tailbone up, lower the belly down, cow. Exhale when you're ready, round through the back body, coming into cat. Go ahead and move back and forth at your own pace. Allow the breath to guide the movement. And with your next inhalation, find neutral table once again. This time you're going to pinch your shoulder blades together, and with your exhalation, you're going to press down into the hands, rounding the upper back. Inhale when you're ready, pinch the shoulder blades together. Exhale when you're ready, round through the upper back. Continuing at your own pace. Inhale one direction. Exhale the other. Staying at pace with your breath. Letting the movement stay isolated in the shoulder girdle. With your next inhalation, find neutral table once again. Go ahead and widen your knees about the width of your mat. You're going to bring your big toes to touch. Send your tailbone back towards the heels of the feet. The arms can either stretch out in front of you. You could stack your arms below your forehead, or you could bring your arms down by your sides. Let your forehead rest. Take a few deep breaths in. How can you find softness in child's pose? With your next inhalation, start to press yourself back up into table position. Bring your knees together, hands still the width of the mat, fingers spread wide. You're going to take your right toes back and behind you. You're going to curl your toes under, and you're just going to start to pulse front to back a few times, stretching out the back of the leg. With your next inhalation, shift your weight forward. Bring your right leg up parallel to the earth. When you're ready to exhale, you're going to spring your leg out to the side. You're going to try to tap it to the back of the arm. Inhale, extend. Exhale when you're ready. Pull the knee in towards the back of the arm. Exhale, extend. Try not to drop your belly and hike your leg. Try to keep the hips parallel. Navel hugged in towards the spine. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale as you draw the leg in towards the arm. Just a couple more. And then the next time that you lengthen behind you, go ahead and bring your right knee down. Walk your hands back up. You could also come to a kneeling position and shake out the wrists. With your next exhalation, go ahead and come back into table. Walk the knees back together. Take the left toes back and behind you and start to pulse out through the heel of the left foot. Just start to encourage that length through the back of the leg, keeping a gentle bend in the left knee. With your next exhalation, go ahead and pull up and draw the knee in towards the back of the arm. When you're ready to inhale and lengthen, inhale, find that space. Exhale when you're ready. Hug the leg in towards the back of the arm. Inhale and lengthen. Stay at the pace of your breath. Not moving any faster or slower. If the wrists get tired, you can always pop up to knuckles, thumbs facing forward. Last one. Let the left knee come down to meet the right and rock the hips side to side to release. With your next inhalation, you're going to bring your hips back through center. You're going to bring your hands wide on the mat again, preparing yourself for either downward facing dog or child's position. Now, you could stay in table as well. So any of the three of those are interchangeable. Curling your toes under. Let's start with a big bend in the knee. So you're going to lift your knees up. You're going to send your tailbone back. The top of the head is going to be pointed at the thumbs. You might adjust your hands and your feet slightly and start to pedal out through the heels of the feet, establishing yourself in downward facing dog. Keep pace with your breath. Notice if you start to hold it. And with your next exhalation, in any way that works, you can step, walk, or hop your feet between your hands, coming into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Option to clasp the forearms. Option to let the arms hang. With your next inhalation, inhale, come up to Tadasana. Reset your feet so they're about 4 to 6 inches apart. Adjust the clothing as you need to. Roll the shoulder blades back and down. Maintain mobility in the knees as you press the top of the head up into the sky. Shoulders rolling back, heart open. Pubic bone and tailbone pressing down as you lift your ribs out of your pelvis. Come back to Dirga Pranayama. With your next exhalation, if you chose to use a blanket, this is a good time to remove it. Stepping back up to the top of your mat, bring your hands to the sides of your pelvis. And then with your next exhalation, you're going to bend your knees, shifting your gaze down to the ground. Shifting your weight into your left foot, you're going to step your right foot back, coming into warrior position. The left knee is going to anchor itself just over the ankle. The right heel is going to be pressing back. When you're ready to inhale, sweep your arms out and up. Option to keep hands on the sides of the pelvis, depending on what your own preference is. The right hip point is going to be hugging in towards the left knee. So those 2 points are going to be drawing towards each other. That's going to help stabilize the pelvis, and it's going to help you from slipping and dumping into the joints. When this hip is open out to the side, you put a lot of pressure in the hip joint, whereas if you're hugging those 2 points together, you're actually creating engagement with your musculature. With your next exhalation, go ahead and forward fold. Take your right hand into a fist below your shoulder. Option to place a block or a book below your shoulder. And with your inhalation, keeping your left knee hugged into your heart, lift your left fingers to the sky and revolve side angle. Head balanced between the shoulders, right heel still pressing back. With your next exhalation, take your left hand down, set the block off to the side, plant both hands on either side of your left foot, press back to downward facing dog. Grounding through the left foot, inhale, sweep the right foot back and behind. Go ahead and step the right foot in between your hands. When you're ready, lift up into Warrior One on your right side. Hug the left hip point and the right knee towards each other to stabilize the pelvis. And just so you can see it from the other side, sometimes if the hips are off center and not facing the front of the mat, it's easy to kind of dump into this joint. And then you see this, which is also kind of funny, kind of like a sassy hip. What we want is the back heel up, hips parallel to the front of the mat, right knee anchored over the right heel. The hugging between the left hip point and the right knee to grip and ground yourself to the earth. Option for arms. With your next exhalation, go ahead and forward fold. Option to take a block below your left shoulder and take your right fingers out and up to the sky, coming into revolve side angle on at the opposite side. Head balance between the shoulders. Option to turn the gaze up towards the thumb. Option to keep the gaze out over the heart. Just depends on what feels better on your neck. With your next exhalation, take your right hand back down, set your block off to the side. Bring your hands to frame your feet and step back into downward facing dog. With your next exhalation, step or walk your feet between the hands. Take a brief Uttanasana. And then with your inhalation, sweep the arms out and up, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to heart center, Tadasana pose. With your next exhalation, go ahead and release your hands down. Relax your stance. Come back to you. Notice the prana or the energy in the body. Notice how you're showing up to your practice today. Do you feel different already? Different from when you first started? Is the mind allowing you to be here? Are you able to pinpoint it to one focused place? Some people might call that an intention. Some people might consider a mantra to help support intention. I prefer to focus on truth, my truth. What are all the distractions covering up? What are they refusing to let me see? With your next exhalation, release your arms, release your legs, and come to stand in the middle of your mat. You're going to find your block if you choose to have one. And you're going to place your block down in front of your mat. Now your feet are going to be about a leg's distance apart. Hands are going to come to the pelvis. Now, when we're working with our feet, you want your knees and your toes to be moving in the same direction. And sometimes, especially in standing positions, because we have such a small amount of surface area on the ground, it can seem like we want to keep our feet planted. But as we go, if you need to adjust your toes in or out, give yourself that permission. Ground through the pubic bone and the tailbone. Let the heart lift, pelvis grounds, ribs lift. You're going to hinge at your hip creases. So with your exhalation, nice flat back, halfway down. You can keep the hands on the hips. You could even increase intensity, hugging the shoulder blades in without spilling the belly forward. How is the navel going to stay strong as you extend your arms? Can you keep a little bit of bend in the knee? Breathe. Back of the neck lengthens. Tailbone and pubic bone reach back towards the wall behind you. With your next exhalation, go ahead and forward folds. Hands can either come onto your block, and if that doesn't serve you, you can set your block off to the side and bring your hands to the ground. Let your head hang, and from here, you can start to bend your knees a little bit. Bring some energy into the legs as you move from side to side. With your next inhalation, you're going to bring your hips back through center. You're going to walk your hands just below your heart, and you might change your mind on the block at any point in time. You might even change your mind on the distance between the feet. Taking a nice deep breath in, ground through your left hand Inhale your right fingers out and up to the sky.
Exhale, release down.
Inhale when you're ready, left fingers out and up.
Exhale, release down.
Go ahead and move from side to side. And at this point, I'm just being gentle on myself. I'm letting my hips move with the rotation. If you wanted to make it a little more challenging, you could anchor your hips so that they stay parallel to the earth. You could lift your hands. The rotation will be slightly limited. The hands may not go up as far, but it can create a different type of sensation. Last time, both sides. The next time that both your hands are planted below your heart, go ahead and heel toe your feet back together so that they're slightly wider than your hips, and lower your hips down. Inhale when you're ready. Lift up through your hips, heels stay planted. Exhale, lower down. If your heels start to come off the ground, only lower to the point just before they start to lift, or adjust your feet so that they can stay lowered. The next time that you lower your hips down, let your elbows, which can rest on the knees or inside the knees, hands can come together. Gaze fixates on a drishti, heart lifts. Malanasana. Try not to drop into the arches. Come back to your breath. With your next exhalation, go ahead and bring your hands down in front of you. Is it available to bring one knee to the ground and then the other? Is it available to bring yourself around back into a seated position? If you have a block, keep it handy. Otherwise, you're going to come to lie down on your mat. We'll see how this goes. Okay. All right, go ahead and walk your shoulder blades under. Elbows down by your sides. You want your feet within, I call it toe tapping distance. So heels on the ground, pick up your toes, see if you can tap your big toes together. And then that'll help you determine how in line your feet are to the rest of your body, since you can't see from where you're at. You don't want your feet out to the sides of the mat. The reason for this, even if this might seem more comfortable at the time, is because when you pick up, you don't have a steadiness in your knee joints and your hip joints, and so you actually put more pressure in the joints, than in other areas of the body. If you have your feet within toe tapping distance, you start to utilize more muscle groups, and that helps strengthen you in your posture. You also don't want your feet too far away. So how can you keep your heels hugged in a place where it's load bearing, essentially? So imagine that when you lift up into bridge, that you have something very heavy, like a heavy sandbag rested over the front of your pelvis. And if you feel like adjusting your feet would help you lift the weight of that sandbag that you're imagining on you, you might then adjust your feet for your body. Walking your shoulder blades under, elbows planted to the ground. Let's go ahead and lift and lower in and out of bridge a few times. Inhale when you're ready, lift up. Exhale when you're ready, lower down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower, nice and easy at your own pace. Just a few times to get the spine moving. And then with your next inhalation, go ahead and lift up and hold. Allow the breath to come in and out of the body nice and deep. Knees hugging in as though they've got a block in between them, as though they're gripping something. Shoulders pressing back, elbows pressing into the ground. Still breathing. With your next exhalation, go ahead and lower your spine all the way down. And for just a moment, hug the knees into the chest, maybe rocking side to side. If you want to take this farther, you could go all the way into happy baby. With your next inhalation, go ahead and hug your knees back into the chest one more time. Bring them back to the ground. Let your arms spread slightly across the floor, and then take your knees over to one side, coming into a gentle twist. You might take the top leg and set the foot on top of the bottom knee to encourage the twist. You might set your hips more to the middle of your mat as well. Take a few deep breaths here. When you're ready, inhale, bring your knees back up through center, maybe swiveling the knees a few times. And then with your exhalation, swivel your knees over to the other side, maybe adjusting that bottom hip as you need to, maybe adjusting that top foot to the top of the bottom knee. Notice if there's a difference from one side to the other. Can you breathe into the rotation? With your next inhalation, draw your knees back up through center in preparation for a relaxation. If there's any other movement or posture that you'd like to make at this time, you're welcome to do so. You can extend your legs long on the mat. Your hands can rest on the body or down by your sides. Lay down. Eventually, inviting your eyes to close. And for the next few minutes, relax in any way that feels natural to you. invite you to begin to bring awareness back into your fingers and toes as you bring gentle movement into